So let's quickly just put this in context. Context for step 2. We look back at step 1, which has left us in the middle of the floor, powerless and hopeless, and gibbering and wondering, how are we ever going to get out of this? Okay? The fruit of step 1, hopelessness. Maybe for the first time in your life, after doing step 1, you've got a glimpse of how bad it actually is. The reality of how far it's gone, how much you've compromised, is starting to dawn on you. Hopelessness. That step 1, should leave you with some kind of terminology in your head. And I do this for effect. Hell, how am I ever going to get out of this? So step 2, we came to believe. It's the beginning of hope. We looked at that in part 1. So we left in the middle of the floor, powerless and hopeless. So a nice way to look at this, and I pinched this from Brother Bernard, who does step shares on YouTube, some of the best step shares I've seen. We came to believe. Let's break that down. First we came. So we understand that there's a problem. We're starting to get in touch with the scale of it, the depth of it. We start going to meetings, we start seeing a sponsor, we make moves towards treatment, we take some sort of action, okay? So we come, even it might be reluctantly in the beginning. So we start coming, maybe reluctantly at first. We start showing up, we start asking for help, we start participating. We came to, slowly but surely, we start to come around. We start to get glimpses of clarity. Okay? We're starting to participate. We're starting to get more and more honest. Our self-awareness is starting to grow. There's glimmers of hope. We came to believe. So we start believing more and more. The faith and the trust that we spoke about in the first slide is starting to grow. It's growing because we're participating. We're taking part in. We're starting to share. We're starting to trust. Starting to have faith. Okay? So we came to believe. Now let's look at that a bit closer. There's an implication there. If we're coming to believe in something, maybe we're letting go of something else that we believe. Okay? There's maybe an exchange of belief systems, or a slow transformation of what I was believing previously and I'm starting to believe now. Okay? There's a few realities that are starting to dawn on me. And one of them might be that what I believed in the past has had no impact on me. So many people are in this rut that what they believe has no impact on them. So let's come back to that implication. Implies letting go of something. What am I letting go of? What are some of the realities that are starting to dawn on me? That everything I believed before brought me here. Everything I had faith in, everything I trusted, everything I believed didn't work. It brought you here. When I'm doing this in a group session in the rehab, and I'm sitting in a circle full of men and women who are hoping to find a way out of the mess they're in, of the addiction they're in. It's something I unpack with them. At some point, this has to dawn on you that everything you believed brought you this far. It didn't work. And if you go forward with this process, with no change in your belief system, what's really changed then? How's that going to work? And this is a hard pill for many. No pun intended. Hard pill. You don't come with silly puns for in a lecture about addiction. Anyway, this is a hard pill for some to swallow. It's a pun, it works. That everything I believed, everything I trusted, didn't work. You'll hear this terminology at some point. Where what are the three things you need to move forward? Honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. Okay, I don't think there's a treatment center in the world that doesn't use this terminology or use this narrative. It's also a big narrative in NA and AA. The three things you need: honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. Well, if you're listening to step 2, it's possibly because you've already started and you're busy with step 1, and you've started to be honest. So the honesty levels are there, and they will grow the deeper you go. The more you trust, the more faith you have in this process, the deeper your honesty levels will become. Willingness? Well, you're watching this video. That would indicate willingness. In the rehab where I used to work, I would point this out to the girl, you're sitting here. That would indicate a level of willingness. Holy moly. Just pause. I'll be back now. Are we back? Sorry about that. I'm alone in the office today, so I have to answer the phones. Let me see if I can remember what I was saying. Everything that I believed brought me this far. I think I was talking about open-mindedness, willingness, and honesty. Covered honesty, covered willingness. Open-mindedness. What does open-mindedness mean? I mean, if you ask most people, they say, oh yeah, I'm open-minded. Well, maybe. You're only as open-minded as you're willing to look at your non-negotiables. Okay? What are non-negotiables? They're entrenched belief systems, or entrenched worldviews that we're reluctant to look at or change. And I want to suggest to you that that's included in this statement. Everything that you believed brought you this far. Some of those non-negotiables are going to have to become negotiable. What they are, I couldn't say off the bat, and you might not even know sitting here listening to this video off the bat, but once you start doing the written work, once you start watching the lectures, once you start participating in a recovery process, okay, you'll come up against the non-negotiables. You'll feel the resistance. There's your tell that you're up against non-negotiables. Is there'll be big resistance to what's being shared with you, or what's being suggested to you, or what's been pointed out to you, or what you've been challenged by, you'll feel big resistance. Okay? That's a sure sign you need to look at, whatever that is. We came to believe is also going to open up a new question. Am I already in a relationship with a higher power? Okay, before we go into part 3, which is going to be looking at the higher power thing, ask yourself this question. For people that have faith, that are Christians or Muslims, or do have some sort of faith-based belief system, the higher power thing is not so intimidating. But for people that don't have that, for atheists, or people who have an aversion to religion or Christianity or whatever, okay, this step can be very daunting. It can be a big challenge. And I think I might have said in part 1, some people even can abandon this process because they're not willing to deal with or contemplate the idea of a higher power. Okay? So this question is important for you especially. Am I already in a relationship with a higher power? From my perspective, in my opinion, if you've come this far in the process, then yes, you are already in a relationship with a higher power. This thing, let's call it a thing, is a higher power, man. It's got absolute power in your life. You think about it all the time. You wake up thinking about it. You go to sleep thinking about it. You're preoccupied with it during the day. You're planning around it. You're making plans to get it, to find it, ways and means to find more, to use. You're starting to trash and destroy the significant relationships around you for this power in your life. It's starting to cost you emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, financially. Look at step 1. This is a higher power in your life. You're already in a relationship with a higher power. Whether you believe in something out there or not is irrelevant, actually. Don't be so quick to call yourself an atheist. Are you really an atheist? Or are you just a moron? You just called me a moron. Yeah. Let me tell you, real atheists, true atheists, there's not a lot of them, hey? Because a real atheist is a scholar of the religious texts. Not just the Bible or Christianity, all of them. And after a long intellectual journey of studying all the religious texts and everything that's out there, eventually comes to the conclusion that there is no God. That's an atheist. Most atheists that I've met want to circumvent the entire intellectual process and just come up and say, oh, I'm an atheist. That's not atheist, that's stupid and lazy. So if I'm talking to you, okay, stay tuned. How open-minded are you? Are you willing to change some of those non-negotiables? If you are, this process might be for you. You might get somewhere with this. If not, then this step and the next step are going to be academic exercises for you. Step 2 and step 3. And I'm going to come back to this from a different perspective in part 4, part 3, part 4. Okay? When we explore a power greater than ourselves, what that could actually mean, and we also look at insanity and how this is part of that insanity. Does my willpower help or hinder me? Because a part of that belief system that I have is that either my willpower is not strong enough or good enough, because that's a message I'm going to get from a lot of people out there. Okay, you've got weak willpower, you've got a lack of willpower, this is a willpower problem. It's not. It's not a willpower problem. Sorry, it's not a lack of willpower problem. That's a lie. In fact, willpower, more often than not, is part of the problem, because we have too much of it. We are too strong-willed. We are too stubborn. So, I'm going to leave you there. Step 2, part 3, a power greater than myself. Part 3. So, I'll catch you on the next slide. Thanks, guys.